I'm going to talk to you today about the questions that innovators ask themselves that the rest of us could really benefit from. So I work with the University Innovation Alliance. My name is Bridget Burns. We basically help universities share ideas about how to help low-income students. And in the process of doing that, we spend a lot of time on different campuses around the country, seeing what's working and what's not, seeing what's different, seeing what ideas people could borrow. And there's some very clear questions that I pick up on whenever I'm on a campus, especially one that's more innovative that I see is missing from others. So I'm going to share those questions with you today and give you some quick tips that I've observed, and I hope they help you. But I'm also hoping that you will comment below and share some ideas about questions that you think might also add to this list, or questions that you see on a regular basis. The first question that I see on a regular basis at more innovative campuses is that they think about how they treat failure and how they treat new ideas. So how they treat new ideas is really important. Rarely does a new idea come in a perfect lane, and university leaders have good ideas all the time, but if they don't have a process to support and nurture a new idea, then it's not going to be successful. So by this I mean, there are a lot of campuses who have really great ideas, and the first thing they do is debate them. A new idea is not to be debated. A new idea is to be nurtured, it's to be considered, it's a baby idea. So you have to give it space to be incubated and thought through. And then once it's really ready, then you can actually look at it and examine whether it's a good idea or not. But if you start judging it immediately, then you're simply setting up a culture where new ideas are not welcome. We need our institutions, and in any team that you're part of, we need it to be a fertile space where new ideas can grow. So an example of this is at Arizona State University. Now, there are lots of things that you could point to at ASU that are innovative, but for me, the thing that really stands out is that ASU President Michael Crow has a place for new ideas. It's called University Initiatives. And it's a space where they incubate ideas, they test them out, they stand them up, and they give them a fighting chance so that they can then go out into the rest of the university. Now, most university leaders have an idea, and they have to ask themselves which lane it goes in. Is it public affairs? Is it communication? Is it the provost's office? Does this idea belong over in government relations? And again, rarely do they have a lane. And so oftentimes, university leaders have great ideas, but no place to put them, and so the idea goes away. And so the question that you should ask yourself, and you want to make sure your institution is asking themselves, is how do we treat good ideas? How do we treat new ideas? And also, a follow-up to that is, where do we get new ideas? If you ask that question, you will get pretty much the same answers. Conferences, white papers, and someone new moving into the institution. And those are too slow, and they don't happen frequently enough. So really set yourself up and your institution, if you want to innovate, you need a place and a process to treat new ideas. The next question that really stands out that I see frequently at innovative campuses is that they have thought through how they treat failure. Now, too often, campuses or any organization, if they see something that goes wrong, people try and cover it up, or people try and triage the situation privately, and they don't want someone to know that something went wrong. But if you set your campus up or your organization up to think of failure as an opportunity to bring everyone together in a process, to brainstorm what you've learned from it, how you would do it differently, how things might go in the future, how you can iterate and riff on the idea of whatever happened and learn as much as you can, you will have a far more innovative institution, because there are millions of dollars of failures on every campus that we never talk about, that we rarely learn from, and that we don't treat with the level of care that we should. Because the truth is, every time we fail, that is an opportunity to learn something. And that's an opportunity for us to become better as an institution. So think about whether or not your campus has a place to treat failure. An example of that is that at Michigan State, they brought everyone together and they borrowed an idea that they saw at Georgia State, which was they asked themselves, how are we interacting with our students? How are we communicating with them? And what they did is they process mapped, which is literally you take a sticky note for every single piece of the process and you put it on a wall. That window of time was from the time the student gets admitted to the day they show up on campus. And what they found was that they were emailing 450 times in that window of time. Now, that's likely happening on every campus, but they don't have a process, a charrette or a process mapping session where they can bring people together to learn about what's going on, to ask better quality questions, and to help the university be better. Because Michigan State is so much better because they now have that process. The third question that I see on the campuses, and this is probably the most important question, is how might we be the problem? So you can see this at Georgia State or at any campus. I see this a bit at UT Austin. I see this at UC Riverside. And what it is whenever you see a student failing, or if you see a student dropping out, or you see a problem, if a campus, instead of saying that type of student is failing, if the campus turns the lens on themselves and says, how might we actually be getting in the way? They are going to ask a better quality question. They are going to be able to identify ways they could actually help improve this situation for future students. And they are going to make their campus a more effective campus in the long run. But too often campuses just think, oh, it's that type of student, or we need better quality students. And the truth is that the institution itself, we have some design flaws where it's actually quite difficult to navigate. We invite students on who are first generation or low income or students of color. And it's like we hand them a choose your own adventure map and we, wish them good luck. And that's not working. So a campus who asks themselves on a regular basis, Georgia State, their story of transformation, they were able to eliminate race and income as a predictor of outcome. They ask themselves this question on a daily basis. How might we be the problem? How might we be getting in the way? Instead of assuming that it's about the student. The last question that I see that really makes a difference is also one I see at Georgia State, which is, what do we know about our students today that we didn't know last week? And this is really important. I noticed this at the executive cabinet at Georgia State. They, in particular, the president and Tim Rennick in particular, they talk about this issue all the time, and that if you create a culture where your campus is constantly learning about your students and you're actually opening up the conversation to say, what do we know now about our students this week that we didn't know last? Then it sets the tone that you are curious instead of judging, that you are interested in learning more instead of just trying to cover things up or just trying to triage situations. So if you set this up so that there's a learning culture, it makes it so that your data is going to be coming out in a way that you have to make it so that you're actually learning more information about your students. And it also makes sure that you think about places in the institution that you don't know how things are going. So these are the questions that I notice are really making a difference on the campuses around the country who are more innovative. And I would encourage you to think about what kinds of questions you see on a regular basis in the culture of your campus, in the meetings that you go to. What is the assumed question in the room? And then think about what better quality questions might lead to better quality results. So my hope today is that this can be useful to you. I hope that you can add some ideas or some questions to help support others. But if you have other questions, head on over to the UIA's homepage, and we're doing regular videos to try and distill the wisdom that we see at the places that are doing the best job, hoping everyone can be able to step up their game.